Hola amigos de Wine News TV, les invito a conectar conmigo y con mis invitados en Wine News TV On The Go, un podcast que a su vez es un espacio donde aprenderás sobre el mágico mundo del vino a través de invitados de todas partes del mundo que nos contarán sobre sus proyectos para obsequiarnos de forma embotellada música, fuego y leones, como decía el gran maestro argentino Jorge Luis Borges en su poema Soneto al Vino. Este episodio es traído a ustedes por Planet Solar. Protege tus vinos y tus enseres eléctricos con las mejores placas solares en Puerto Rico. Las tengo en mi casa y por ello te recomiendo sus servicios. Llama a José Luis al 787-690-6444 para una consulta libre de costo y síguelo en Instagram vía JLR Planet Solar. Hola amigos de Wine News TV, el podcast. Estoy aquí en la sala de cata de la bodega de Méndez y vamos a hablar de unos vinos muy queridos en Puerto Rico, el grupo Fantini. Agradezco a Coralis Torres, a todo el equipo de trabajo de la bodega de Méndez por esta oportunidad. Esta entrevista va a ser en inglés, aunque mi invitado entiende todo en español, se siente pues mucho más cómodo hablando de los vinos, las regiones, las uvas y de un país que quiero mucho, su natal Italia. Vamos a hablar con el presidente del grupo Fantini, el señor Valentino Ciotti. Valentino, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
I am really glad to be here. Also at hand is my dear friend and client Aldo Scaroni. He's also Italian. And I am a big fan of Italian wines in general. I've had the Cinque Autoctoni several times. It's a very much beloved wine here in Puerto Rico. Has a lot of recognition, brand recognition, and it's really delicious to pair with food. The others, well, I've had the Primitivo. That is also very well known here because that's the style of wine that a lot of people here like. It's rich and it's also very aromatic. And I always recommend Primitivo to those people who like Zinfandel, that sometimes can be too sweet. I prefer Primitivo any day of the week. Tell me a little bit about you before we start talking about Fantini, the group. Where are you from? Were you and this is a dumb question because you're Italian, but the question that I ask all of my guests is whether you were exposed to wine growing up, whether your parents were in the business or whether they were wine drinkers. Tell me a little bit about you, about your childhood, where were you born, all that good story.
I'm from Abruzzo, that is a region in the center of Italy, just east of Rome on the Adriatic coast, and from the province of Chieti. And Chieti province is the second largest province in Italy for the production of grapes. If you born there and if you grow there, you are always involved in grapes and winemaking. From when I was child, we was always making wine at home. In my village, everybody makes wine at home. And it's a kind of competition.
Okay.
And even inside the family, between my father and my grandfather, there was this competition. And because when I was child, I was closer to my grandfather, that we spent more time together.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the secret that my grandfather was using trying to beat my father. And then my father was a director of a big winery for 36 years.
Oh, wow.
And was always trying to convince me to get in the wine business. Like all, the new generation always wants to prove to be able to do something different.
Right.
Or better, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I started in the agricultural mechanical company, something connected with the production of grapes, because was making equipment for working the land.
Mm-hmm.
And in the time, just to do the favor to my father, I decided to join one winery as export manager for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt in love with wine.
Right.
And
then
I am here.
Then you overstayed that year. You stayed for much longer.
I am here, and after 8 years working for other wineries of the region, I understood that it was time to start a different project that was bringing my region and all south of Italy in a different position. In the past, the wine from the south was mainly sold for blending or was sold in the domestic market. But I realized that having more sun, there was a possibility to ripe much better, much more consistently in quality every vintage. I say we have to give value to the product that we have. And I started with another two friends, this company,
Fantini.
Fantini.
And is that the last name of some of the shareholders, or is it, what does it mean? What's Fantini?
No, it was a local cyclist.
Okay.
You know, I born
that's very
doing
cool.
sport with bicycle. This guy was a professional rider, very young from the region, that was having this crazy dream to go around the world and to become famous.
Mm-hmm.
He succeeded, and I said, look, he was a dreamer like us, was looking for something that was looking very difficult, and he succeeded, and then died, unfortunately,
Wow.
very young during a race for an accident. I said, this is a wonderful story. We have to
I love
bring
it.
his
I
name.
had no idea, because obviously it's a last name, but I was under the impression that, contrary to being an homage to this man, may he rest in peace, I thought it was, you know, your last name or your family's last name. So it's a tribute to him.
Yes.
Because he was from the area and he dreamed big.
He was with the area, was dreaming big, and he started from zero like us, because when we started our business, we was having no vineyards, no winery, no bottling facility,
and very little capital.
And just to complete,
right?
Zero money.
Wow.
Not little. We was having the money to spend just to survive us, doing consultancy to other wineries.
And look
growing
where you are
hours
now,
and consulting others.
And look where you are now, my friend. That's fantastic. This is a true testament of willpower and hard work. Before we get into the four wines, we have a rosé and we have three reds. One, a very special one, which is the last one. It's a precious, beautiful bottle with a little key on the side attached to it. That's like an ornament that I guess you can keep and put it in your Christmas tree for decoration. It's a very pretty presentation. Let's review for a bit, if you will, the grapes from Abruzzo and the style of the wines, because I am very, I guess, experienced, for the lack of a better word, with wines from Tuscany, for example. And I associate Tuscany with Sangiovese, also the Piemonte with Nebbiolo, right? In Abruzzo, tell me the main grapes for reds and whites and the style of the wines.
The main grape from Abruzzo, it's Montepulciano.
Montepulciano.
And we have the appellation Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, that is the second largest appellation DOC after Chianti.
Okay.
That is, in terms of volume, an important appellation. This is for red. For white, the typical grape varietals of Abruzzo are two. Pecorino.
I love Pecorino.
That is an indigenous grape varietal, aromatic, that we are still continue to discover the potentiality.
I agree.
Every year the wineries improves. And
do you make Pecorino at Fantini?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I have to try it one day.
Yeah,
maybe really... next time. I'm planning a trip to Italy with my friend Aldo here, and he's going to be my translator.
Very welcome. Well, you don't need translator, because in my region, our dialect takes origin from Spanish. Till 1860, we belongs the Borbone family.
So that's why you understand everything in Spanish.
Exactly, because my dialect is very close to Spanish.
Fantastic. And you said Pecorino is one of the main grapes for white, and which is the other one?
And the other one is the DOC appellation Trebbiano.
Trebbiano, I know it well as well.
Everywhere in Italy, but in Abruzzo have the appellation DOC.
All right, let's get into the wines, because that's what the audience wants, for us to discuss wines. Cheers, my friend, and let's get into the first one. What Cheers. Do we have here? Salute.
We have a Merlot grape that we vinified in rosé. Mm-hmm. And we started this project analyzing all the different grape varietals and all the different wines that was on the market. Obviously, when we started, the target was France, and we realized that a lot of rosé was very attractive in colors, especially the Provence style. Mm-hmm. Uh, Aromas not very intense, but with an interesting aromas, but in general was quite flat in the tasting, and especially the after tasting was very, very short.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized that this problem was connected to the fact that the wine it's made with much more color, and then you need to do the filtration to remove color. When you do the filtration, it loses color and flavors.
Well, and I understand exactly what you're saying because this is a wine which is a total opposite of that. You have a lovely color which is very delicate. It almost looks like a white, has a tinge of rosé, and then the aromatics are incredible. On the nose, it's very expressive. Is this 100% Merlot?
It's 100% Merlot, but the style of vinification is quite unique. We frozen the grapes before crushing. In this case, because the color is in the skin, when the skin is frozen at 0 or below 0, does not release color, but release aromas and release flavors. Of course, all the process is with zero contact with oxygen, and this allowed us to keep 100% of the flavor that you have when you eat the grapes.
I love the fact that on the nose it's explosive aromatics and it has this lovely tropicality to it, and also that red sumptuous Merlot fruit. It has lovely acidity on the palate, and it's not big, but it's round. I mean, it's a wine that would pair fantastic with food. I believe that it has a lot of potential. And again, the I guess the underlying factor or characteristic of the vast majority of high quality Italian wines like this one is that they're meant to be enjoyed with food. I mean, these are super gastronomic wines. I've had some of the others. I've never had this one before. Is this a new release, the Calalenta? Is this something that, how long has it been in the market for?
We started in 2020 to produce it.
Okay, so
In
that's
the
why I
market,
hadn't seen it. I
this
hadn't
is
seen
the
it
first
before.
vintage that arrived here.
This is a very, very nice wine. I think it's perfect for our weather here in Puerto Rico. We tend to drink a lot of red because of our Spanish heritage, Spanish tradition, but our weather and the the overall climate of the island all year long is much better suited for bubbles, whites, and rosés, of course. What do you pair this with when you're back at home, Valentino? When you open a bottle of this?
Definitely in our area, the fish restaurants are the most popular, and with any kind of fish dishes, it works very well. In white sauce pasta with chicken, those
It would
are
go.
the maximum pairing that you can have for this wine.
It's very nice. There's some herbs. The minerality here is very evident, it's very present. It has this drying finish at the end that will clean up the palate. And then I I asked about whether there was a blending component to it because it reminds me a bit of some very high-end Sancerre Sauvignon Blanc. It has this delicious, juicy fruit, and even though it's 100% Merlot, the acidity reminds me of a white grape. It's a fantastic wine. Congratulations for that.
Thank
It's
you.
really, really good. All right, let's get into the second wine. The second wine we have is the very well known Cinque Autoctoni. This is Mendes does a fantastic job with this wine. It's everywhere. I mean, high end places. It's beloved by local consumers. And if I'm not mistaken, I've had, I mean, this is a blend of different grapes, right? Okay, what do we have here?
Well, this is a blend of five typical red grape varietal. In order of percentage, we have Montepulciano, Primitivo, Sangiovese, Negro Amaro, and Malvasia Nera, because we have a white Malvasia and a red Malvasia. This is the red Malvasia from Puglia. Two grapes are from Abruzzo, three grapes are from Puglia. The idea of the wine came from a very famous UK journalist, Hugh Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
that visited our company when we started the business and really promoted to us to start to work on a concept of Italian Super Red. Say, forget the Super Tuscan, because Super Tuscan, you always use international grape
Right.
varietals. In one way or another, you have flavors that you can have
Yeah,
everywhere in
you're
the world.
imitating Bordeaux, or you're imitating
Exactly.
someplace else.
But with more than 1,200 grape varietals,
In
you
Italy.
need to have a blend that only represents
Italy.
Italian
That's where the
flavors.
Cinque Autochtone comes. Five
Exactly.
grapes, autochthonous, indigenous to Italy.
Exactly.
I love this. I
Exactly.
read Ian D'Agata from Decanter all the time. He's an expert on Italy. And this wine to me screams Italy. You know, generous sun, obviously this part of the country, because
Yeah,
other
the
parts
south
are
it's completely
yeah,
different
it's
than
different.
the
Other
north, of
parts, like
course.
from where Aldo is from, is cooler climate. But here you have this lovely note of cherry, herbs, you have tobacco, you have these plums, and then you have this minerality, this earthy, lovely sort of leafy note. And you know that in spite of the fact that it's generous, it's rich, it's going to be fresh, because it screams to me again food. I need to be paired with food. Let's give it a whirl of the palate. Mm. Lovely maraschino cherry, some anise. Um, there's some tea leaf, and again the drying sensation. Italian wines, when they're well made, they're like Italian shoes. They're comfortable. They're perfect. I mean,
Exactly,
they coat
elegance, I think.
elegance, suede, seda, and then at the end this amaro drying sensation. Oh my God, I'm getting some plums. What's the oak treatment here? Because I get a little spice,
We use
which is not sweet.
60%
Yeah.
American,
Uh-huh.
40% French, but with very light toasting.
Very light toasting, and then you can express the fruit, and you're gonna get the richness of the soil instead of the aromatics of the barrel.
Because the flavors that came from the barrel can be the same for any wines.
Yeah.
But for us, fruitness, the respect of the original fruit is the most important in a wine.
This wine, for those listening now who've never had it before, is a wine that you will go crazy for, because it combines, the key to this wine is balance, equilibrium. You have rich fruit, you have very good integration of oak and the tannin, the alcohol level is in check. And again, it's a gastronomic wine. I don't remember the price point for this, but if I'm not mistaken, it's reasonably priced here in Puerto Rico. And now I understand again, because I haven't had this in a number of years, why this wine is so successful. It was awarded 99 points, and was heralded as the best Italian red in 2023 by Annuario del Migliori Vini Italiani. Very good wine for those out there who like rich wines that are not sweet but rather fruity. Very nice, very well made.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and let's get into the third wine. What do we have in the third wine?
The third wine is an old vine, Primitivo.
Okay.
Primitivo, it's a red grapes that in the last 20 years really had the highest success in the country as a new grape varietal. It was second only to Prosecco, but Prosecco is completely different category. It's produced in Puglia, south of Abruzzo. It's an area completely different from Abruzzo. It's very hilly with the big mountains, fresh soil. Primitivo, it's from a peninsula called Salento. It's all flat, red soil, very dry, and the change of temperature, it's only thanks to the fact that being peninsula, in the night the wind from Adriatic Sea to Ionian Sea keeps the temperature a little bit lower. It's for me was a discovery, because when I was there the first time, I met a couple of around 75, 80 years old, that they was driving a very old Cinquecento with a trailer behind, and they stopped at the coffee shop to have something to drink. It was very hot, and I told to the guy, why you are driving this very old car? Maybe the police will be upset, they will find you. I say, no, they will not find me because I'm very poor. I'm not able to pay any fine. Say, look, why you are not able to pay if you are grape producer, you sell your grape. Say, no, nobody loves my grape. They give me very low money because the quality is low. Say, why it's low? Because I have more than 100 years old vineyards. And nobody wants, because the grapes dries on the vines, and the liquid that you obtain for 100 kilos is almost half of the liquid that you obtain
Yeah.
from younger vines.
He didn't know he had a treasure.
And there was a New Zealand winemaker with me. He said, we have to taste immediately the grapes. Maybe we found something exceptional. We tasted the grapes, and we both was looking each other. We say, what's happening here?
Yeah. Because those roots go so way down and they extract
Exactly.
things. The yield, it's less, but the aromas, the concentration. I love the nose of this wine. It seems to be jammy, but it's more herbaceous and has the aromatics that reminds me of certain tropical fruits like tamarind and like some rich blood orange citrusy notes, and then it has spice, and then that quality that I find in good old vine primitivo, which is this minerality that reminds me of fresh herbs and cherries. The finish on the palate, it's salty, it's amaro, it's mineral, and then as you taste the wine, having perceive the aromatics, you think it's going to be jammy or sweet like a lot of Zinfandels in the U.S., but it's completely different on the palate. It's drying, it's lovely, and again, it's a perfect wine to pair with food. I don't know if I'm reading this right, and it carries the alcohol level very well. It's 15.5%, but it feels elegant. It feels fresh. It's not a tired wine. It's very nice.
Thank you very much.
Very nice wine, and this really calls for a piece of meat, right?
Yeah, definitely meat, but also it's excellent with spice food. We sell a lot in Asia, and to match wine with Asian food is very difficult. This one really is very highly appreciated.
Oh, this is nice. Um, on the palate, my God, you definitely notice the quality of the fruit. It's like you're biting into a plum. You're biting into a red ripe fruit, but it's not sweet. Doesn't
No,
feel
because
sweet.
everything that is natural is not added. It's excellent. And here, a little bit of sweetness you have because when the grapes dries,
It will have some
yeah,
of that, of course, but it reminds me of tamarindo. I don't know why. It has this tropical explosion to it. It's very fine. It's very different. Very nice wine. Try Primitivo. Those out there who like, I mean, Zinfandels. Those of you who like your Malbecs from Argentina or your Shiraz, try Primitivo from Italy. Okay, let's get into the last wine. This is a work of art. This is a big bottle. I love the sort of the keyhole here, and then it says Three Dreamers. This is an Apacimento method wine. I want to stop a little bit here because I know this is special. It came in a beautiful foil that was peeled before our chat. Tell me about the Three Dreamers. Is this you and your two partners?
exactly. This is
Okay.
related when we started. The idea starting with zero was to create the largest Italian boutique winery, and everybody was smiling and was telling us, "You are so nice, but you will remain a Three Dreamers." After 30 years, that this year will be our 30 years of business, we succeed. We are the most important winery in North, Center, and South of Italy, And we
Congratulations,
say,
Valentino.
thank you. We say we have to make a wine to say that the three dreamers succeed. And we made a wine that we was always dreaming to make in the style of Amarone, but we improved a lot the system of drying the grapes. And the label is like a door with the key that you put the key inside to open the dream, to get inside the dream.
What a
It's
nose,
like
my
when you
God.
remove the cork.
This wine cannot be less than $100. How much is a bottle of that wine in Italy?
Like every wine of Fantini, we are always very affordable in price.
The nose here is crazy. I mean, I haven't had a drop of it. The color is super intense, super dark, but super elegant on the rim. You have a beautiful sort of red hue cherry, but then inside it's very intense. What are the grapes that are here? Well, like which
100% Montepulciano, single vineyard. The vineyard has been planted the first day of business of the company, and the vineyard was organic from day one. We decided to not call Montepulciano the wine because we don't want that the people buys as Montepulciano. And we decided to not put organic on the label because you don't have to buy it because it's organic, but because it's a great wine. And this is the philosophy behind the wine. And all the single berries has been selected by hand to avoid that there was any damaged berries in the wine to alterate the aromatic structure. You see how clean is the aromatic structure, typical of when any single berries has been checked.
Tell me a little bit about, I mean, I'll give you my notes. This is incredible. It's an absolute experience. Tell me about the Montepulciano grape because it's not that well known, at least here in Puerto Rico. We mainly drink Tempranillo, Cabernet, Pinot Noir, Merlot, Malbec. How would you describe the Montepulciano grape?
For me, the Montepulciano grape is the bigger brother of Sangiovese.
Okay.
Are grapes that have a lot of similarity, but Montepulciano have a tannin that is a little bit more important, gives you wine with more structure. I don't know about the long aging potentiality because till 20 years it works perfectly. I don't know if we can have the same aging potentiality of some Brunello.
Right.
But definitely I can tell you that it's a wine that have still a lot to prove on the market and still a big potentiality to grow. In fact, it's growing every year.
Yeah, and it's also very versatile to pair with food because you can make Montepulciano in different styles, and this wine proves precisely that. You can make rosé from Montepulciano. You
Yes,
can make
Cerasuolo.
yeah, and they're very good. Okay, tell me a little bit about the appassimento method for those listening out there. About if they buy a bottle of this, is this going to be available here in Mendes? This wine?
Yeah, it's already available.
Okay, it's available. Because this is very cool. This is what they do in the Veneto region with Amarone, that they put the grapes to dry on some mats, the appassimento method. Tell us about that.
We harvest, we put in the case only one line of bunches of grapes, not one over the other. We have a computer that control humidity, temperature, and the ventilation system that allows to have always the same temperature and the circulation of the air in all the cellar that we use for that. Normally, when we lose almost 40% of the weight, that it's water that is inside the berry, we go to crushing the grapes for making wine, checking all single berries. This process, it's around Christmas. The harvest, it's beginning of mid of October, and around Christmas we go to vinify the grapes. And of course, you have the concentration of everything that it's inside.
Yeah, the aromatics, the alcohol. It's like it's a little bit like when you get those, botrytis, the sauternes, where you have like much less juice, but it's super concentrated and super ripe. I mean, this wine is a monster. It's a baby. This wine, we're probably committing a crime drinking this wine so young, but it's so explosive on the nose. I mean, it's rich, and in spite of having that tinge of sweetness from the drying of the grape, becoming almost like half grape, half raisin, it has elegance. It has this lovely um, sort of silky note on the palate,
Yeah,
creamy note on the palate. Wow. And
you have a power and elegance together. The velvetness of the tannin is something unique because the tannin are important tannin you see from the color, but they are very velvet.
yeah, I think that you reach or you achieve something amazing in having a wine that's 16.5% alcohol and still feels like a red wine and not a dessert wine because it has that drying, that mineral, clean, juicy, generous finish without being a wine that feels tired. It's a wine that's brimming with light. You can feel the generosity of the Italian sun from where you are, and then you have that quality. Fruit has to be sweet and a little bit green because it comes from nature. It cannot be manufactured sweetness. It's natural sweetness that's balanced by something that's a little bitter, and it has to be bitter because it comes from the
From the pan.
earth. And this wine achieves that. It's an explosion of fruit, but then at the end there's that little green amaro bitter, refreshing note that feels a little salty. I love this wine. It's a
Thank you.
massive beast, but it's a beast that knows how to conduct itself with grace, power and prudence, power and patience. Very well made, sir. How much is this wine in Italy in euros? It can be less than
Uh,
80, 85 euros.
it's sold in Italy around, depends if it's restaurant or if it's
But it's a
a
store,
liquor
at
store.
liquor store.
In liquor store, normally it goes around 60
Yeah,
euros.
yeah, it's a collector's wine, and this wine, because of that appassimento method, just like Great Amarone, it can last 40, 50 years easily. It'd be nice to see how it behaves, to see Montepulciano, because Amarone is Corvina, Molinara, Rondinella, different grapes. It'd be so nice to see how this behaves in a couple of years.
I think that it will
It
work
will
very
hold
well.
because
Yeah,
they have a tannin structure, which is the key, and the freshness and an acidity, despite of how big it is. It's a kind monster. It's a generous, wise monster of a wine. Thank you, Valentino. Thank you for your
thank
time.
you. Thank you very
Thank you for
much
your
for the
patience. Again,
opportunity.
I am no expert. I give you my honest take on the wines as a consumer. And again, to recap, the Cala Lenta, the Rosé Merlot, is spectacular. I loved it because it's a serious rosé wine that when you look at it, you say, wow, it doesn't have much color. Maybe it doesn't have a lot of flavor. Has a lot of flavor and a lot of aromatics. I am the kind of person that spends more time smelling a wine than having it on the palate. I could smell that wine for hours before drinking it. So the Cala Lenta is fantastic. And then we had a delicious blend. I'm going to do a separate review of the Cinque Autoctoni because, I mean, it conveys a message of we can do blends in Italy with our own grace, without having to resort to international varieties. Then the Primitivo di Manduria, all vine, excellent quality for an affordable price. How much is this wine in Italy, the Primitivo di Manduria?
Primitivo di
At a
Manduria, it's
store,
about 35, 40.
35, 40. Yeah, it's these are 100-year old vines, right?
Yes, some vineyards are also older than 100,
Wow.
120.
Wow. So some
It's
are
pre-phylloxera.
pre-phylloxera.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
incredible.
because here the soil it's very sandy.
It's sandy, so the
Phylloxera
phylloxera
does not
couldn't
attack.
attack there.
No.
Yeah, I've seen that story before, and it's amazing. And then the Three Dreamers Rosso, made in the Amarone style. What a wine! An incredible experience just to taste it. It's a privilege. What's next? What are you working on, Valentino? I have a couple of questions before we go. Can you tell us, because aside from Puerto Rico, we are listening in here in the podcast in about 45 countries. So, are you working on something new? Can you give
Yes.
us a teaser or anticipation of something that's going to come?
We have an internal division, R&D, that is working on resistant vines.
Oh, nice.
We are thinking about in the future to make all the wines organic, but not organic that you have any way to spray something much lighter, but you have to spray. No spraying at all. It's called resistant vines. We already obtained wonderful results with the Sauvignon Blanc. Just finished all the experimentation. It will be
Sauvignon Blanc, you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
already started the plantation this year. In 3-4 years, we will have the first Sauvignon Blanc in volume, in acceptable volume from resistant vines. And we are continuing to do experiment with other grape varietals with the same concept. For us, sustainability is very important. And already our model of business, it's at the best social sustainability because we don't buy vineyards. We have some vineyards, but our priority is to give value to the vineyards of a lot of very small producers. We have to split the success of the wine with the local growers. We strongly believe that in terms of quality, it's much more important to involve in the project 1,000 growers with 1 hectare than not to buy 1,000 hectares and then to find people that works in the vineyards that they never seen the vines in their life. They have no experience, no passion. We strongly believe that the best grapes came from a cultivation made by experts with a lot of passion. The same we have to do with all the process. Already all the wineries have 80% of the electricity at least with solar panel, and we are trying to reach 100%. We have a wonderful process of reducing the consumption of water and the recycling of water. All the water that we use, we clean and we bring back in the vineyards for irrigation when it's needed.
So trying to leave no footprint, or at least make up for what you leave behind in terms of consumption of natural resources. Okay, so for those who want to perhaps visit your winery, your properties, you said that you also have a resort. People can go there. Where do they find you? Like if they want to come visit, they have to follow you in social media.
They go in social media.
How do they find you?
Fantini Wines.
Fantini Wines. Follow them. Are you on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere?
Exactly.
Okay.
And we have this wonderful resort that is an old, very old village of 15th century. All the old house restored. Looking outside is like 500 years ago.
Wow.
Being inside, you have a maximum of comfort and modernity inside.
Well, you can expect us there with Aldo in the near future. In the near future. Okay, two questions that I always like to ask when I have an entrepreneur, a leader, a president of a company here. These are Miss Universe questions. This may seem like dumbed down questions, but they help me see inside the soul of my guest. First one: if there was a thief in your neighborhood or where you live who's a drunkard, he doesn't want to steal your car, your jewelry. He only likes wine, and he gets into your home in the middle of the night. Nobody's there, and he goes into your cellar. What will that thief find which are not Fantini wines? This is a very stupid way of asking you, what do you drink? What does Valentino drink when he's not drinking Fantini? What will that thief, what would he or she find in your cellar? Again, he only wants to steal your wine. What do you have there that's not made by you? You don't have to name brands because those are competitors. You can name grapes, regions, styles. What does Valentino drink in his spare time?
At my home, I have a huge selection of foreign wine.
Okay, tell me
mainly foreign, and the wine that for me are more prestigious are the wine of the heart, are South African wine.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, what an answer. I wasn't expecting that one. Why?
Are South African wine because they age so well. They are.
I agree with you.
They
I
are
agree with you.
made in the style that I love.
Have you had
They are
Cristallum?
excellent
Have you had
when you
Cristallum?
buy, and they are exceptional after 20 years. And those for me are the wines that of the heart, the wines that I love, and that in my cellar have a special space.
You have Chardonnays, Pinot, Syrahs from South Africa, Pinotage.
Pinotage. I have a lot of selection of Pinotage and Bordeaux blend because they also do something exceptional in Bordeaux blend. Of course. I did a tasting with some journalists in Rome last year in January, and I brought 5 wines from my cellar from South Africa, and one of them was 2000 vintage, and the guy said, "Oh, we think that wine is already gone." I say, "I don't think so." I say, "Are you sure?" 99% for me, the wine is excellent. We opened the wine, was showing the potentiality for another 50 years of aging.
My God.
Maintaining all the characteristics. This is something unique. I did the same with Australian. Unfortunately, the results was not the same.
Wow. Fantastic. So I have a friend that I've interviewed. I've interviewed him twice, Peter Allen Finlinson from South Africa, and he makes wines under 2 labels, Cristallum and Gabriel's Kloof, and they're just fantastic. I'm going to send you a link to his page so you can find those wines. The Chardonnays, the Pinot Noirs, the Bordeaux blends, the Pinot, they're just fantastic. Okay, my last question. If you were capable of drinking a bottle of wine with any person in human history, it can be an anonymous person that's, non-famous, but famous in your heart. You could say your grandfather, who I assume is no longer with us, or you could say, I don't know, Leonardo da Vinci. Who would you have a bottle of wine with, and what would you bring to that table? Which bottle?
Well, of course, for me, I want to have with my father, because everything that I learned came from him. He passed away when I started the company.
Okay.
And I had no chance to show him what I did. Today, I think that I will drink with him.
What would you bring to the table with him?
Maybe Edizione.
Cinque Autoctoni.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And if you were to pick a famous person, it could be John Lennon, it could be Jesus Christ, it could be anybody. Who would you like to talk to and have a bottle? Because at the end of the day, wine is about friends and conversation and breaking bread together. So,
in fact, my answer was I prefer more friends than famous people in general.
Okay.
Because I think that my wine is made to be appreciated by everyone. Okay. For me, any consumer is the same. When I see traveling around the world, a bottle of my wine on a table, for me, it's a huge emotion. Until I am able to prove this kind of emotion, means that I can continue to produce wine.
That's fantastic. So that translates to you treat every customer as the most important person, because he or she is drinking your wine. Thank you, sir. You're a mensch, as they say, a fantastic guy. Follow Fantini Wines. Come find them here at Bodega de Méndez. Muchas gracias por su sintonía. Ha sido una entrevista que he disfrutado muchísimo. Valentino Ciotti. Los pueden encontrar en las redes sociales como Fantini Wines. Vengan a la Bodega de Méndez. Y en todos los países donde me siguen, vayan a su tienda favorita y pregunten por los vinos de Fantini Wines. Ha sido un placer conversar con Valentino en la mañana de hoy aquí en Puerto Rico. Grazie. I'm looking forward to visiting Italy again. Grazie, Aldo, my dear friend. Y bueno, será hasta la próxima, mi gente. Recuerden compartir este episodio con sus amigos amantes del vino y recordar que en este mundo hay espacio para todos y que lo importante no es la meta o el destino, sino el viaje, el recorrido, disfrutar cada copa con moderación y sabiendo que detrás de cada copa está el esfuerzo de cientos de hombres y mujeres que trabajan para que nosotros podamos disfrutar aquello que el poeta decía, son las uvas transformadas en poesía. Será hasta la próxima. Salute, my friend.
Salute.
Thank you. Este fue el episodio de hoy. Recuerda dejarnos una reseña para que nos ayudes a crecer, suscribirte y recomendarnos con tus amigos amantes del vino. No importa cuán avanzado estés en el recorrido de enamorarte de aquello que decían sobre el vino. Son uvas transformadas en poesía. Aquí hay espacio para todos. Salud y como siempre, dale share. Recuerden que este episodio fue traído a ustedes por Planet Solar y a mi amigo José Luis, a quien puedes llamar al 787-690-6444 para una consulta libre de costo para que pongas las mejores placas solares en Puerto Rico en tu casa y así protejas tus vinos de cualquier interrupción eléctrica. Síguelo en las redes en JLR Planet Solar.